Then he said, well, there must be something else that, I said, Andy, it's you, baby. You have to do, you. I said, why not you? Why not do yourself? I mean, you're the character. You're the one who looks so wonderful. He said, you mean strange, don't you? I said, no, Andy, you're wonderful looking. You have kind of halo over your head. You look like a saint. And we started to call him Saint Andy after a while because he had this strange look about him. And he did the portraits of himself.
Your looks are laughable, unphotographable, yet you're my favorite work of art.
I have a painting that he personally gave to me, and I called and asked him if I could have one of his paintings, and he very quickly said, no, you can't. Don't you dare. And as I remember, right before we left to go back to Pittsburgh, he said, tell Jamie to bring up one of the paintings that he can pick. And so I picked out one painting that was different from all the others, and it had a two-toned background to it, different from the others, which were just all flat. And to me, it represented the double image of my uncle, the image that he portrayed to the public, and the image that he truly was to the family. I think Andy preferred that the family didn't come down to the factory. And from what I've heard later, that the factory was quite a bizarre meeting place for all kinds of people. I think it was just as well, and that's probably the reason Andy really wanted to keep his family separate from what he was doing.
In 1965, bored with painting and at the height of his popularity, Warhol announced that he was a retired artist. The silver factory became a place where the famous and the bohemian met to hang out. Rock stars visited, and Andy Warhol's own band, the legendary Velvet Underground, rehearsed there. The place was set up like a stage, and Warhol began to film the people who performed for him. I just opened the door, he said.
The scene up at the factory at one point was almost nightmarish, you know. There was all the adulators, and a lot of them were essentially people that Andy enjoyed watching, but they were really disreputable characters. And some bad incidents occurred as a result of that until Andy really finally realized that he couldn't have a compendium of characters like that hanging around all the time. And the only part of his career, it was just the adulation that he'd been seeking, and he loved it. He was also an observer, a voyeur, if you like, you know, and he loved to watch people. He liked to watch eccentric people, and some of the eccentrics were downright strange.
But I'm gonna try for the kingdom if I can, 'cause it makes me feel like I'm a man when I put a spike into my vein. And I tell you, things aren't quite the same when I'm rushing on my run, and I feel just like Jesus' son. And I guess that I just don't know, and I guess that I just don't know.
Andy, if this segment that we did here now had been for a film of yours, what would it represent?
Faking it for television.
Andy was attracted to Hollywood. He loved movie stars. Andy getting involved with making movies was like another step in somehow spiritually bringing himself closer to Hollywood. When Andy first started making movies, he was like a kid with a camera.
Can I really see the camera now?
Well, you mean while it's watching?
Oh yeah, it's just
you watch it and it watches you.
Oh.
You know, we went shopping for a movie camera, and We got a Bolex, 16mm Bolex with a motor drive attachment. He just wanted to push the button. He didn't want to do any rewinding or any editing. He wanted the film to just be continuous, the way life would be continuous, and the film would be continuous in the sense of capturing and documenting life in motion. So you had the sense of real time, R-E-A-L, in synchronicity with R-E-E-L, time.
One of the most publicized of the underground films is Sleep by pop artist Andy Warhol. Some critics praise it because it is so basic, without distractions.
Andy, why is it you're making these films?
Well, it's just easier to do. It's easier to do than painting. Well, because you just, the camera has a motor and you just turn it on and you just walk away. It just takes all by itself.
Well, Sleep was Andy's first film, actually. Andy had an idea that he wanted to film Brigitte Bardot sleeping. He didn't get Brigitte Bardot, but he used a friend of his, John Giorno, and ultimately made a film that was about six and a half hours long, and then we duplicated about an hour and a half to 2 hours of the footage to stretch it out to 8 hours.
Sleep was made on this bed in August of '63, in those months of July and August, and I'd lie down. Actually, the bed sheets. It was hot. It was August. I'd lie down like this, and I'd go to sleep, and Andy would be sort of there since it was the different room, and go to sleep, and that's how it happened.
He said he wanted to do it like Edison. He wanted to get the camera, let it sit there, see what it does first. Then he would try moving it. Like he would do the first one. He said, "All right, I'm going to do the first one where I'm going to move the camera," and then he would focus it on various items in there. He didn't just stay on the stars. He would be on a doorknob, and people would say, "Why is he on the doorknob?" Because he wanted to go on the doorknob.
We're trying to make it so bad, but doing it well. Where the most important thing is happening, you seem to miss it all the time. Or show the most scratches you can on the film, or all the dirt you can get on the film. Or zoom badly, where you zoom and you hit the most important, you miss the most important thing. And your camera jiggles so that everybody knows you're watching the film.
Not everyone digs underground movies, but those who do can dig them here. This is the Bridge in New York, one of several small theaters around the country where underground films are shown. And their devotees range from serious students of cinematography to the society swingers of the jet set. But what is an underground movie?
Why were the movies called underground movies in the beginning, Andy?
Because they were always shown in the cellars.
In the factory, Warhol recreated the entire history of cinema. He began with silent movies and moved on to sound. A new film was made every 2 weeks.
And at the time, it was in the 60s unusual for anybody to own their own camera that had sound. And he owned a sound camera called the Oricon, a newsreel camera. So what we did was simply what they did in fact in Hollywood without meaning to do it. We made films about personalities. We didn't bring in the latter-day horrors of filmmaking that have deteriorated and hurt it so much, the emphasis on directors and important themes and statements and all that garbage which has alienated films from a popular audience.
Reel 1 of Andy Warhol's Kitchen, directed by Andy Warhol.
Oh, Sailor, Sailor. Okay, Columbus, we've discovered enough.
This afternoon I went to a shower, Joe.
What did you say, dear?
I said I went to a shower this afternoon, Joe.
He went to the shower this evening. I know.
The superstar era was now starting. Baby Jane Holzer was the first girl of the year, the first superstar. But anyone who wanted to be a superstar or do something at the Warhol factory could come and do a screen test, which would just be sitting before the camera for the length of a reel doing what they did. Usually they just sat still for the entire screen test.
The films brought Warhol closer to the glamorous life he aspired to, and he finally gained entree to New York society through his friendship with the socialite Edie Sedgwick, the poor little rich girl who became his brightest and fastest burning superstar.
This is Edie Sedgwick.
Listen to the girl as she takes on half the world.
If somebody wants to be in movies, you can buy their life.
It's good, so good, it's so good, so good. Walking back to you is the hardest thing
If it's possible to have suicide in your blood, she had it. The most disturbing thing to me about her is that she was such an incredibly good-looking young woman, and as Irving said, the greatest legs in New York, and she made herself look like Andy. She used to dye her hair the color of his wig and make herself very pale, and they used to go out together. And Andy was so complex that he was not responsible for her death, but he never put a hand out either. He just made her life very happy while she was there.
Basically, I've always believed, and ever since doing those experiments, I've sort of totally been sure of the fact that films are about personality, human personality, and the better the personality, the better the film.
And on this floor, this is where Andy Warhol made his immortal classic, The Chelsea Girl. You know, Andy Warhol was originally a woman's shoe illustrator who worked for Bonwitz, and then he painted some tomato soup cans.
The Chelsea Girls, made in 1966, was the first major collaboration between Andy Warhol and Paul Morrissey.
In a way, it was a compromise in his terms, because I assembled it to make it look like it was all people in a hotel, which gave it a narrative structure.
That'll give us some competition.
Oh, there's no competition at all, dear. What are you up to?
Won't be long now before I finish knitting this sweater. I'm going to give it to my little girl. She's the sweater girl.
Basically, I think he tried to tell me something to the effect that if it was abstract, it didn't make any sense and it could be art, or might be art. And he came from the period of school. He went to school in the late 40s in Pittsburgh, I guess. I think he came to New York in 1949. And throughout the 50s, early 50s, when he was here in New York, art was considered Jackson Pollock, and things didn't make any sense.
Right.
And I think that's where he left it. If it doesn't make any sense, it's art. If it seems like it's about people in a hotel room, well, it's a problem.
Shut up or I'll splat your nails.
Oh no, anything but fun, no, please,
How are you going to fix?
I give pokes where I give them, Mary. That didn't hurt, did it? Oh, I didn't even give it to you yet.
Oh my God, when it hit the New York Times, the Time magazine, section, in the people section, oh my God, it mentioned my name. And my mother went one night to see Chelsea Girls with her best friend, and I was at home in her Fifth Avenue apartment, and she walked in. She'd been down to the basement of the Cinematheque Theater in disguise with scarves over her head with this very ladylike, you know, snobby friend of hers, and they walked in. We have just been to see Chelsea. I've never been so shocked, you know, to think my daughter, oh my God, you know.
All the people that we've seen in your films are actually that which we've seen them do.
No, they're faking it.
And on the basis of what experience are they faking?
I don't know. Ask Bridget again. What were you doing, Bridget?
Well, I think we fake it to a certain extent, but then I mean, at least I believe it becomes real.
So it becomes real after you put it in the movie, not before like other people do in other movies where they make something real and then make a movie about it.
Ah, yes.
So the movie becomes reality.
Ah, yes.
The most famous scene of all of Andy's movies, undoubtedly, is the Pope Ondine sequence in Chelsea Girls. What was the setup of the scene?
He told me to hear confessions.
Right.
I got tired of hearing confessions. Right. And I figured, I'm going to hear this confession. It's going to really be a blowout. So I shut up on camera. Right. I wanted everybody to know everything. I professed my homosexuality. I go right on and on and on. And it just gets to be more and more of a searing kind of portrayal of me. And like I said, the only way that could have been filmed is with Warhol at the other end of that camera.
Well, the soul is the mind.
Oh, the mind?
Yes!
That's terrible.
The mind is the string beat.
If you really believe that, you're not going to get very far.
I don't want to get very far. I want to put you in heaven.
Me in heaven?
Well, that's what I'm here for, isn't it? To lead my flock into eternal bliss?
Where's heaven?
You figure it out, Mary. I'll give you a road map. Where is heaven? It's on my shoulder.
She was the third or fourth person's confession who you heard. The third, okay. So what happened?
Well, she came in and she was irreverent. And I was the Pope. You're not irreverent when you're around the Pope.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's really a sacrilege, a blasphemy.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was the Pope.
Right.
Now, who's the phony, my dear? Now leave. Leave quickly before I tarnish the rest of your filthy image. Get out of here. Get out! Get out of here, you creep!
Look at you.
Who are you supposed to be, Little Miss Wonder? You're a bore, my dear. A bore! A bore! A bore! You filthy horror! How dare you! How dare you!
Stop it.
You motherfucker, I'm a phony? Well, so are you. So are you, admit it!
Stop it.
Admit it, you! Admit you're a phony, you creep!
Get your hands off me.
My hands are off you for all time, you lousy creep!
Get your hands off me.
I'll do violence, all right, you phony! You miserable phony!
You have to do in front of the camera.
Right.
Beat up another human being, shoot up, confess your innermost sexual... I mean, how long does it have to go on? What was I supposed to do, kill myself, too?
Right.
I mean, that 5 minutes, and they kept saying 5, and I thought, my God, 5 more minutes of this.
Yeah.
Well, what'll I do now? I'll rinse out my hypodermic needle. I mean, that's all I could do.
Yeah. Is that what you did?
Yeah, with Coke.
Pepsi is really preferable.
Everybody's warned me not to go near Andy Warhol. I never saw it. I never knew where this image came to begin with. But if you still read anything, any articles, or anything about Andy, they all talk about the sex, the drugs, the this, the that. I mean, I don't know where it came from. Of course, there were all those people on the edges hanging around who were completely crazy. But I mean, they weren't as crazy as Reagan and Gorbachev and Colonel North and Poindexter. They weren't out raping Central America, you know. They were just having fun.
After Chelsea Girls, Paul Morrissey took over Warhol's film production, steering the films away from the avant-garde and towards more entertaining, even commercial projects.
Okay, they're gonna run over us. They have no brakes.
Let's go over to the other side of the street. We can duck in that house.
All right, we'll hide behind a post.
The plot of the cowboy movie. Let's see. I was the madam of a whorehouse, I think, but there were no other women in the movie. There was a transvestite who was supposed to be part of the whorehouse.
They sure ride tall in the saddle. Look at. Oh, Ramona.
Do you know, I think he has false eyelashes on. Where do you get them, I wonder?
For your purity and our income. I remember you're the
he's wearing makeup.
Daughter.
Don't you think he's wearing makeup?
And that was the basic plot. I was supposed to seduce Julianne, and then there were all these other cowboys who were all gay, who were demonstrating how to do ballet steps.
You know, you have both open at the same time. How long you got to do that for? Oh, well, daily, you know, like this, and then you doing things like this.
I couldn't do that.
Oh, sure, after a while it fills them up, you know, so that holds them right up there. Then you can.
It was a pack of brothers who were also lovers.
And so that you can.
It would get more outrageous every day. It was all making fun of sex.
Something here, something there.
In 1968, real life intruded violently into the light-hearted surrealism of Andy Warhol's films, when a factory bit player, Valerie Solanas, tried to kill him.
And I ran across Union Square, and I saw all these police cars and ambulances, and I still didn't believe it. I thought, oh, they're just pretending Andy shot. This is a movie. They want to get my reaction. This is really going too far. I really believe this. So I went in. It got my whole perception of everything. Things became very three-dimensional and sort of clear. It was really like taking LSD, that scene. And I thought, you know, it's got to be a movie.
He was like a millimeter away from death. He really came close to being a dead person. And it's strange because it was almost as if Andy was living the last 18 years of borrowed time. It was almost as if he hadn't existed anymore and had died, and this was all a dream. And everything that occurred from 1968 until the time that he died this year didn't exist really. It was all in a book. It was all a dream.
Why'd you keep your clothes on? I'm afraid to look at my scars, so I always just jump into bed.
Your scars?
Yeah.
Can we talk about your scars?
Oh, yeah.
That was from when you got shot, your accident, yeah?
Yeah.
It must have been awful.
Oh, no, I look like a Dior dress. No, an Yves Saint Laurent dress. A lot of stitches.
How long ago did that happen?
A couple years ago.
And why did she pick on you to shoot?
I was just in the wrong place at the right time.
Did it change your life much?
Oh, I don't take off my clothes.
But that's the only thing it changed?
Yeah.
Who knows you better than anybody else?
Who knows me better than anybody else who knows me? The telephone operators.
Oh, this is Rona? Gee. Oh, God, I haven't talked to you in forever. I don't know. Well, what are you wearing? What's everybody wearing? What's Bet wearing? What's Mick wearing? Oh, he's out of town? He's not wearing anything? What's Eddie Fisher wearing? Oh, you're kidding. Gee, I guess I don't know what to wear. I guess I'll wear the same clothes I wore last year.
Gee, I heard you were a closet queen. Is that true, David?
Could be.
Really? What is a closet queen?
No, someone who lives in a closet, I suppose, and is scared of being homosexual.
Really?
You attract a lot of those people up at the factory, though, in your films, no?
What? Closet queens? No, I don't.
Not closet queens, drag queens.
Drag queens? Oh, but the people we use aren't really drag queens. Because drag queens are people who just sort of dress up for, like 8 hours a day or something like that. And the kind of people we really use are people who think they are really girls and stuff, so that's sort of different.
after Andy was shot, his relationship to women changed dramatically. He had been shot by a woman who was one of his actresses. She wasn't a superstar, but she was an actress, and he did not want to be surrounded by deranged women anymore. But Andy liked so-called crazy people, or people who were a little unusual, and it was wonderful for him to suddenly have all these drag queens around. He could hang out with them.
The drag queens featured heavily in the later Warhol films directed by Paul Morrissey, and in 1970, Trash, starring transvestite Holly Woodlawn, became the factory's first international success.
I was raised on welfare, and any woman who's pregnant has to have welfare, and you still can't have my fucking shoes.
You kids have been having a good time. You've been going out and doing things and asking for change. I come here on the weekends. I know what happens.
I don't ask for change.
Sure you do, yourself.
I do not. I pick garbage and I sell it.
Do you realize that if I approve your claim for welfare, that you'll be getting money, you could buy 20 pair of shoes?
I'm still entitled to welfare. Anyone who's pregnant has to have welfare.
Well, I can't argue with a closed mind.
My mind is not closed. It's open.
Just give them the goddamn shoes, man. What the fuck's wrong with you?
Stay out of this.
Well, I'm sorry.
You're damn right you're sorry.
Arguments and...
Just give us welfare.
Why? You just want. I mean, you think that just because you want money...
I'm entitled to it.
To you?
Yes.
Why? You can't get money. You're living with a heroin addict. Just give him the fucking shoes.
I'm not going to give him the fucking shoes, and I'm not going to stand for any of the fucking screaming in my own house. Now you get out.